Hey, everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. I'm really excited about this. One of the things I'm going to start doing on this podcast is having the younger generations come in and talk about some of the incredible things that they're doing. Think Community, there was an article that was written about 2020 that stated that by Dell, that by the year 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist do not exist in 2020. So we're looking at 10 years, and this was before the pandemic. We're looking at this decade being very, very changing. I'm looking forward to having Jackson Blau. Jackson, it's great to have you. And I want to read your bio because Think Community, listen up, because to many of you, this is going to be very foreign, and Jackson's going to educate us and walk us through. You know, one of the things my parents always used to share with me is they would say, Jonathan, you can always learn from somebody younger and somebody older than you. Never discount. And right now, Think Community, we're in offices where the younger generations, like the Jackson Blaus of the world, are teaching you as much as you are teaching them. And so mentorship is a two-way street. Jackson, before I have you kind of jump in, I just want to kind of read your bio. You're a senior at the University of Michigan, majoring in economics and entrepreneurship. That also is working full-time at Security Token Market as a community manager. It is through Jackson's experience in real estate that he grew an interest in alternative assets. While previously working at a venture capital firm, he gave an investment thesis on tokenization of commercial real estate with the help of Security Token Market CEO before being brought onto the team himself. Jackson, thanks for being here. Let's start off by talking about what tokenization of even is. Let's start there. Thanks for being here.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for having me, John. As you said, I'm Jackson Blau. I'm a senior here at the University of Michigan, where we are chatting from in Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
And I work full-time with Security Token Market. And so to understand fully what we do at Security Token Market, as John pointed out, you probably first need to start off with what is tokenization to begin with. And so you guys at this point are all probably familiar with cryptocurrencies. And what cryptocurrencies have aimed to essentially do is democratize finance. And a lot of these cryptocurrencies are aiming to do that by offering these digital currencies that may or may not have utility. In my opinion, a lot of the time they don't. And the whole underlying technology of blockchain, all the benefits are being missed. And ultimately, tokenization is capitalizing on the benefits of blockchain technology within traditional capital markets. It's allowing for these assets that exist within capital markets right now that may be illiquid, have high costs, so a high barrier to entry, and other factors that may limit outside investment. It allows you to then fractionalize these investments if you want to fractionalize them, but tokenize them. So have a representation of these real world assets on the blockchain in its simplest sense. So I know I kind of got all over the place with that.
No. I mean, that's kind of like, so let's zoom in and get a little bit granular, right? Let's thank you for that. And I loved that explanation. Let's reverse engineer it to a kindergarten level, right? Yep. And so one of the things, with this type of technology and, and just so many other things, VR and AI and crypto, I really do my best to spend about 5 to 10 minutes every day trying to study it because it's a new way of thinking. But take us down to a kindergarten level on how the person who knows nothing about this can begin to understand it, not only understand it, but understand how it applies to their business, Jackson.
Okay, so here's a great analogy that I always like to begin with that helps people really kind of visualize the whole blockchain ecosystem with what's going on right now. So imagine that, so in its simplest sense, if you don't know what a blockchain is a decentralized way of storing data. It does it immutably, and it does it across systems, all of which are accessing the blockchain. And so it is a lot more secure than having centralized databases. And beyond that, it allows for people to build on top of it and build more applications. And so the analogy I like to give is blockchains are highways. And on these highways, you have these different toll roads. And the tolls get paid in the cryptocurrencies. So in a most basic example, most people know of the blockchain Ethereum. And people like to say ETH. ETH is the cryptocurrency that is the utility token on
Yeah.
the Ethereum network. And so Ethereum is more or less a highway, and you pay in Ethereum. And so you hear all this jargon about NFTs and all these other things, and these NFTs and other tokens being built on top of the blockchain, such as security tokens, like I myself am interested in, are essentially the cars that are driving on the highway. And so you have these other non-fungible tokens, tokens representing securities, or other assets on the blockchain that need to utilize this underlying cryptocurrency to pay to use the network. And it makes sure that the network doesn't get too congested and accounts for supply and demand. That's why we have fluctuating gas prices. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons there why gas prices fluctuate. But more or less, a good way to look at it is you have your highway, which is the blockchain, the cars that drive on top of it, which are security tokens, NFTs, other assets. And then the cryptocurrencies are what actually allow you to operate on those roads.
I love it. What that was a great analogy, by the way. I love analogies, so I appreciate you sharing that. So now let's talk about the company that is driving a car that's getting onto the highway for the first time. Where do they begin, Jackson?
So right now, that's what a lot of people have struggled to figure out for the last couple of years in the space. This is a
Right.
really novel technology, and to figure out how to do something like this took a lot of time. And so my founders at the company I work for, Kyle Sonlin and Herwig Konings, are lucky enough to have been in this space since the beginning. Herwig Konings actually has a background in investor accreditation and founded an investor accreditation software back in the ICO boom. And he basically foresaw this wave that we're now seeing of all these cryptocurrencies being deemed as unregulated securities. And he saw this avenue to get involved on the investor accreditation side. And since that company, he has founded Security Token Group, which is the parent company of the company I now work for, Security Token Market. And we have a couple different verticals. Security Token Market is our data analytics and media company, which is where I first started. But now I also work on our other side, which is Security Token Advisors, which is a full stack advisory firm, which actually they've been in the space doing this for over 3 years now and actually help you tokenize your asset at every step from A to Z. From working with different issuers, legal teams, compliance, vendors, issuers, broker dealers, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And so basically, right now, in order to do this by yourself, you would have to go to different broker dealers, issuers, technology providers, and piece together the puzzle and figure out exactly what works for your asset. But at Security Token Group, we've kind of done all that work for you. At Security Token Market, we have all the data of the historical secondary market trading of security tokens paired with the analysis that we're doing. I myself am doing along with our team of analysts, and we're doing a ton of media creation on that side. We have the Security Token Show, which comes out on a weekly basis and is a podcast showing what's going on a weekly basis in the security token market. It gives highlights, news, our top 5 articles of the week, a company of the week, and a whole lot more, paired with a main topic that's kind of where I first started. So I'd actually love to share the story about how I got involved with the company,
Yeah,
because
share.
I think
I want.
I think it
Yeah, share
really
it. Share it.
shows
Yeah.
how receptive these founders are to the market and just how in tune they are with the brand that they're creating. So we really like to say community is everything at Security Token Market, and I myself now am community manager. And we know that when you're tokenizing an asset, it takes a village. You're not going to do it all by yourself. You need a community behind you, and that's ultimately why, like at the end of the day, what appeals to me about it. I think it's allowing a lot more people to get involved with different assets that they might otherwise not be allowed to access. And so Kyle, when I was working on this investment thesis, was at Security Token Market, not Kyle, was the only person produced, the only people in the space producing content, anything usable research wise for my investment thesis. The only other resource I had was a 100-page primer from Cointelegraph, another prominent crypto news source. And I basically found out about halfway through that Security Token Market had sourced all the data and helped with the analytics for that. And I'd been watching their podcasts and reading their different articles. And so I reached out and basically asked for help in exchange for help because I could tell they were a startup and I had two working hands and wanted to help them. And so we got on a call and immediately hit it off. And from there, he would help me with my investment thesis. And really, we would just meet on a 1 hour call. And I would do most of the learning that I did from then. And even up until now, I mean, now I have a lot more access to him because I work with them full time. But I did a lot of the learning through the content they were producing. It truly is like some of the most digestible, comprehensible content on stuff that is, for someone that's been in the space now for a while, it's undeniably hard. There is a learning curve. And if someone wants to get exposure to the upside that is going to be in this industry, just you have to accept that and you have to take the time to
Yeah.
learn a little bit about it, do your due diligence. And I promise it's all there and it's all pretty clear. And so that's they helped me through that process. And I was very, very lucky to have them by my side.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be here without them.
Well, they sound great, and it sounds like they really at the heart of it. When you say that the company is all about community, they realize that extending themselves to the community is part of the DNA. So I don't know them. They sound great, but just from the story alone shows kind of the heart of who they are and the heart of the company. I think I
Exactly.
understood about maybe 17% of what you said. So I've got a lot of learning to do, but I'm a big believer that you surround yourself with people smarter than you. So you'll be my go-to on questions that I have for this. But here's my question too. It's so impressive, Jackson, because you're at University of Michigan and you're working full time. So I'm assuming you have a full stack of classes. How do you balance school and work and and just kind of still have energy to kind of hang out and enjoy and have fun?
So I am lucky enough to be working in a team or with a team on the STM side that is super flexible, and not just flexible, but diligent and communicative. And so I worked remote for them all last year. I was doing it first semester while I was on campus, and then second semester while I was living in Madrid, and also traveling a bunch while I was there. And we really haven't had any troubles. I myself take pride in my communication, and I just always have been. I've always just made sure that we are communicating and staying on top of everything together. And with school,
I just
I
want to comment on that. I want to comment on that real quickly, Jackson, because I think one of the things that is lacking from most people, and I'm a business coach. I coach solopreneurs to Fortune companies, everything in between, from the C-level suite leaders, managers, salespeople. One of the things that is missing is people's lack of follow-up and lack of clarity when they communicate. Communicating with you, being on this podcast, I just want to back up what you said. Your communication was great. I mean, we had to move the dates a couple of times, or the this and the other, just with conflicting schedules. But communicating with you was a breeze. So I can imagine if you communicate like that within your world of business specifically, it's such a great and important skill set. So yeah, I mean, it comes easily to you, but I just want to kind of extract that in community and just highlight that we are competing with the Jackson Blaus of the world, right? The brains you can all hear and you can see and how he's explaining everything, but the follow-up is just the extra gasoline that really accelerates it. So kudos.
Well, I really appreciate that. And it's honestly part of the reason I working with a startup so much. I really get to feel so much more hands-on. That, I mean, I've loved every experience that I've had, but I feel
Yeah.
very hands-on and very responsible for the follow-ups. And I like that feeling. I like feeling like I have something that I can call my own.
Yeah.
And it's been very cool to do that. Since I've worked with them for now almost over a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half. Yeah, I have the freedom to start my own projects and kind of do things at will. And I've got a couple things under my belt right now that I'm waiting to put out that I'm super, super excited about. That wouldn't have happened if me and the team weren't as good at communicating as we are. It really was a tough transition coming back and starting to work remote again after being down in person with them full time in Miami.
Yeah.
I used to say this about my summer before. I thought I'd never learn more in a period of time in my life, but now that's definitely last summer. These individuals are just so diverse and also focused on the same goal. And I was lucky enough to be living across the street from the office. And so you can only imagine how that was.
So cool. Yeah.
So I was in the office all hours of the day with different people and talking about different things on different teams. And so I really got the full experience.
I love it. I love it. All right. Quick speed round. You ready, Jackson?
Ready for it.
All right. A book that's had a book, an article, a TED Talk, something that's had a big impact on you.
0 to 1 by Peter Thiel. I love that.
Great.
It really helped me get creative.
Yeah, it's a great book. Best piece of wisdom or advice you've ever received.
There's no such thing as failure. You only learn.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just on a podcast yesterday as a guest, and they were asking me about failures, and the way I define them as kind of expensive seminars, right? Like
exactly.
it cost me X to learn Y, right? So, and then my last question is, anyone who wants to take the first step into learning all about tokenization and everything that you've talked about today should what?
I would say they should check out Security Token Market's blog at stm.co.
Okay. And how can people connect with you, get to know, reach out to you, et cetera, and your website?
So I'm very available. And like I said, I'm very good at communicating. So please do reach out. You can find me on any social media at Jackson Blau on most of them. At some, I might have an H in there for my middle name, right in between Jackson H. Blau. And my LinkedIn is Jackson Blau. And if you want to email me, jackson@stomarket.com.
I love it. Jackson, you're really impressive. I don't mean to sound like I'm like the old, the uncle or something, but I'm really proud of what you're doing and what you're accomplishing. You and your generation are paving the way for change and getting people to think differently and shake people out of complacency to begin to learn new things and continue to be the teacher that you are, not just the student, but your passion and your discipline and your grit is really, really impressive. And we'll have you back on if you're open to it to kind of talk 100%. More about this, because it is Think Community. As you know, if you listen to the show, I'm a business coach and I work with successful people who are stuck and I get them unstuck. Most people are and will continue to be very stuck on these topics if we don't commit to educating ourselves. No matter what your age, no matter what generation, we all need to learn these things. There's a great TED Talk by Jeff Hoffman, who is the founder of Priceline. It's called The Power of Wonder. And in it, one of the things he talks about is that he spends 15 minutes a day info sponging, the way he categorizes it, doing research on things that have nothing to do with his business to see how they will impact his business. And Jackson, the things that you are doing and many of the things that you talked about and the company that you're with are going to impact and have a ripple effect on how we do business today through the decade and beyond. Jackson, I really appreciate you taking time to be on the show. I know you're really, really busy. Any final thoughts?
So if anyone is interested, we actually do have an ongoing crowdfund going on. And if you want to check that out, it's at STOmarket.com/invest. And yeah, that is a completely compliant Reg CF crowdfund, completely as in following all the Jobs Act regulations put out by the SEC, and it's been filed and everything. So if you're interested in checking that out, learning more about the company, STOmarket.com/invest.
I love it. All right. Think Community, check it out. And if I can help you with any of your coaching needs, johndwoskin.com. Jackson, this was great. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thank you for having me.